All right, so let's do an introduction to SolidWorks. So hopefully you guys are all logged in with your identity key. You don't have one, right?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, you have an identity key?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
I'm confused. All right. If you have an identity key, you're probably going to be in good shape. They've probably already given you an email address. You're probably in good shape. So we'll have to go figure that out. I think I might take you to our academic undergraduate advisor after class. She might be able to help you. All right, let's open up SolidWorks. So it'd be nice if you guys would follow along. So first of all, I wanted to tell you SolidWorks is a beast of a program. If you don't have a pretty good computer and a pretty good graphics card and a pretty good processor, it's going to dog you down. And even if you do, when your models get pretty complicated, it's slow. So be careful with how you click. You know, when the processor's trying to catch up and you click 10 things, click, 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 you kind of freeze things. So take it easy when you click things. Give it a second to catch up. I know you guys are speedy, but the computers haven't caught up yet. This is your basic environment. Up here is kind of your basic icons. They try to follow the Microsoft products, and they're also trying to follow the new app stuff where everything's a picture. That drives me nuts because I'm kind of an older guy and I don't know what the pictures mean. This is kind of a your generation thing. So I wish they'd go back to words like this because I can read English, but so you have to kind of be used to that. Once you get SolidCam is embedded within SolidWorks. So once you have SolidCam and a license, the SolidCam options will also show up in SolidWorks. They don't now on your computers probably. And then you have the standard stuff. The most important ones that you'll be using are the tools, the insert, and the view. So be ready for those. The most important one of all is the tools options. That's down here. You'll use that quite a bit, and we'll go into that in more detail. All right. The next most important thing is this toolbar. It's called the Command Manager. And if you don't see that, you need to get it. And that is under Tools, probably Toolbars. Or is it Insert Toolbars? Where's my toolbars? View Toolbars. There it is. View Toolbars, Command Manager. If you don't have that, you want that. That one for sure. It should just come up with SolidWorks when you open it. But if you don't have it, get it, because it's the most important toolbar you use. You really can't do much without it. So I'm going to go over that toolbar right now. There's a bunch of tabs. I have a couple of extra tabs. Did everybody get these sign-in sheets? We're all good? Okay.
The command manager is right now on my toolbars. Yeah.
Well, it might already be up. Do you see this?
No.
I think it's open on yours because you have some parts open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So you may have to do a new part to get it. So let's do that. Let's go to File, New, and just say Part, and hit OK. Then you ought to have this Command Manager up. Did that work? We good? All right, so there's these 5 basic tabs, and then I have 2 extra tabs here for the SolidCam. You won't have those yet. You will when you get your license. Let's go through these tabs real quick. The first one is this Features tab, and this is very important. You'll use it a lot. This is all the features that you can put into a solid model. SolidWorks is a parametric CAD program. So it works off of two-dimensional sketches, which you then extrude or cut or revolve or do something with in order to make a three-dimensional model. Okay, so let's start with the sketch tab. This is actually the most important tab there is the sketch tab. You'll see that you can start sketches, you can dimension sketches. You've got geometry sketch tools here, points, lines, circles, arcs, splines, polygons. You can trim. We'll go into convert entities. You can do things like mirror patterns, sketch patterns, move entities, that sort of stuff. This is your most important toolbar within the command manager because that's where you start everything. We'll go into that. Once you've got a two-dimensional model, you can then go to your features and extrude them into three-dimensional shapes, and then you can mess around with them. You can cut holes in them. You can revolve cuts or extrude cuts. You can loft or sweep cuts. You can put fillets in or pattern features. A whole bunch of other, you can mirror things. Other things you can do with your three-dimensional model once you have it to that point. So these two tabs will be used quite a bit. You have an evaluate tab, which is very useful as well. You can measure things. You'll use that all the time. You'll want to measure distances between points or lines or edges or faces. You can get mass properties. You can enter in materials, and you can, once you've got your model all built, you can calculate your mass, which is very helpful for engineers that are designing things. You can do design studies. We're not going to go into that in this course. That's kind of advanced, but you can do some thermal modeling. You can do some structural modeling, some FEM. You need to be careful with these. Everybody's probably taken at least a little bit of computer programming, right? You've heard garbage in, garbage out. So these programs will only work with the input that you have given them. So if you give them garbage input or garbage assumptions, they're going to calculate and use their algorithms, give you an answer, but that answer may not be correct. You know, it's up to you to use analytical tools that you learn in school here to kind of gut check the answers and make sure they make sense. You remember in high school, your high school teacher said, hey, just because the calculator pumped out a number, you need to check it to make sure it's the right order of magnitude or it's in the right ballpark for the question that's being asked. Same thing here. So be careful with these tools. Check them. If you use thermal or structural modeling or FEM analysis within Solidworks or fluids analysis within Solidworks, make sure you check it against your analytical tools that you're learning in school right now. That's just a life lesson that I bet you're going to bump up to within your college career. So I've warned you, fair warning. There's some other tools in here we'll use. There's some, business tools you can use and some organizational tools. We're not going to go into those much. Pretty much all we'll use here is the measure feature and maybe some of the mass properties features. We're not going to use this dimension expert tab or the office products tab. That's except for maybe the SolidWorks toolbox. We're going to use that to drop in fasteners here and there. So your basic two tabs that you're going to be using are the features and the sketch. Those are the really important ones. Okay. Let's see. Another toolbar that's extremely useful is this one here. And it should be up there. Hopefully it should default. It's called the heads up toolbar. If it's not in there, you'll want to go into your view toolbars and find that. Let's see. View. Toolbars. And it's called heads up, I believe. View heads up. It's called view heads up. This one's really, really useful, and I apologize here. You'll see that once in a while. My graphics card is going to have trouble with SolidWorks clicking, so you're going to see some embedded windows kind of pop up all over the place. This heads up toolbar is very useful. You've got zoom, you've got zoom to an area, you've got section views, you've got your view orientation, so you can change your view orientation to like the front or left. This one's very useful. Normal, so if you select a plane and you want to look at that plane normal to that plane, so if you want to, if I select the face of my hand and I want to look normal to that, that's this normal to, that I use that all the time. You've got these different types of views here. In fact, I'm going to pull up a part just so that you can see. So I'm going to open a part, and I believe this is on D2L, this particular part under lesson 1. But I have it on my local computer here. So I got this little Lego here. If you have a mouse with the roller wheel and you push the roller wheel down, you can kind of drag this thing around in 3 dimensions. Your zoom to fit, your zoom to selection, that's very useful. Pushing your roller wheel, using your roller wheel to zoom in and zoom out is useful. So you can, these are called view states. Right now I have shaded with edges shown. I can also do shaded without edges shown. And you can't see the vertices. It's a more realistic view. You can have not shaded with edges. You can have shaded with hidden lines, or not shaded with hidden lines. And you can have solid lines for your hidden lines. So those view states are pretty useful. You can hide and show items. You can edit the appearance of items, their color, their texture. You can put neat effects on there like mirroring effects. All that's going to be useful when you go for style points. So this heads up view toolbar is really useful. There's this other one here. This is the resources toolbar. I like this. You don't use a lot of this stuff in here, but I'm going to show you this because a lot of your homework's going to be on here. This design library toolbar has our fasteners toolbox in it, and I think pretty much every time that you open Solidworks you have to kind of add in this toolbox. So you have to hit this add in now, and you have to be patient. It takes some time. So when you click that, just click it and then just wait, and it takes a few minutes. It adds in a whole bunch of fasteners.
Let me bring up that library.
How do I bring up the library?
Yeah.
It's do you have this toolbar here?
I found it.
It's under design library on this this resources toolbar. I probably shouldn't have hit add in now. It's going to crash me. Okay. Also useful is this resources. It's the little one with the home. Under that resources tab is this tutorials, and one of your homeworks tonight is going to be one of these tutorials. If you look at your calendar, it's the Introduction to SolidWorks tutorial. Okay, so that's this one here. You see that? So that's going to be a homework. So I want you to be able to find that, and that's in that resources tab there. Everybody got that? Any questions on that, since it's a homework? While we're on that note, if you look at your calendar, you also have the tape measure, calipers, and micrometer measurement videos. Those are on YouTube under the CAD Cam, and I showed you how to get there. All right. Okay, other toolbars. Over here is, let's see, this big one on the left is called your feature manager. And this is very important too. You're going to have this open most of the time for your models. If you'll see your feature manager, you've got 5 little tabs here. The first one is your feature manager design tree. This is your most useful. If you see, it starts with your part. It's got a lot of information. It's got your planes that kind of reference you to your 3 dimensions. It's got your material. You can have annotations. It's got a historical account of how you built this part. And then it's got your features. So if you look here, I've got my boss, I've got my original boss, a couple of bosses, a cut extrude, and another boss. And they're all in historical order. I'll talk about that more later. But these are all the features that I created. And if you open the little pluses, you see this 2-dimensional sketch on which I created that 3-dimensional feature. So remember, you have sketches and you have features. Okay, sketches are the 2-dimensional, features are the 3-dimensional. Okay, all the features are based on a sketch. All right, so there's that part of the design tree. You've got the property manager. You'll use this a little bit. You've got the configurations. So in Solidworks, you can make multiple configurations. So let's say you had your part and you wanted to really quickly toggle between, I want to look at this part of the part, like the bottom, and I want it zoomed in this way, and I want this color, and I want it to be with hidden lines shown, but I want to really quickly toggle to another view. You could make multiple configurations. Now, most engineers don't do that. That's kind of an advanced technique for CAD modelers, which is probably not what you guys are going to be. You're probably not going to be full-time CAD modelers, but maybe. I've had a couple of students graduate engineering and get jobs specifically CAD modeling. So we're not going to go into this much because pretty much we're only going to want to look at one configuration, but that's what that's about. We're not going to use this dimension expert. And then there's the display manager, and that can be useful for colors and appearances. But basically, you're going to use your feature manager design tree mostly, and you might be using your this properties manager. I'll show you that in a bit. More on that to come. Okay, so this design feature manager design tree is an important one. Then there's a million other toolbars you can have. I have some other ones here. For example, this one is the solid Cam toolbar, and you'll notice with SolidWorks you can kind of dock these things anywhere you want, to the left, to the bottom, right, up here. They can be free floating. If you're a CAD modeler, you probably want a ton of toolbars sitting out. I don't like a ton of them. I don't like these because they just get in my way, and I can't use the window space much. So I like to get rid of them. If you click, if you can click and close these out, it would be useful for you guys to go to your toolbars and look at which ones you can have. There's a gazillion of them. You may like some of them. You may want some of them. All right? So you may want like the drawing toolbar, or like, for example, later on we're going to do a sheet metal part. So maybe you want the sheet metal toolbar. So that popped up right here and auto docked right there. Maybe you want that one up. When you're doing your sheet metal part, you probably do want it up, but normally maybe you don't want it up. So it would behoove you guys to take a few minutes tonight and look at all the toolbars that are available, and maybe even open a few of them and look at some of the options on those toolbars. It'll give you a more global view of what is out there for SolidWorks, what can be done. So you might look at some of those. While we're on that topic, it would also behoove you to look at the menus and kind of see what you can do with the menus, especially the Tools Options menu. Okay, we'll go into that more later, I think in the next section. couple other things I want to show you. Let's see. So here you have X, Y, and Z. So they've got a kind of a global coordinate frame for SolidWorks. Your parts don't really care about this frame, but sometimes this helps you orient. This is going to become even more important when we start getting into SolidCam. SolidCam uses the same color scheme and coordinate frame that SolidWorks does. So red is X, green is Y, blue is Z. That's going to be helpful. If you look at the bottom, you have some other little functions. You've got this bar right here kind of tells you what you're doing right now. You're editing a part. If you were to get into a sketch, it would say editing a sketch. It tells you your units. This is important here. I'm going to have a little discussion on units. All right. Except that we're pretty much hitting a break. So I think I'm going to save that. All right. Any questions so far? All right. You guys have a break, 9:50 to 10:05. You need to be back on time, okay? There's bathrooms on this level for the guys. Looks like we don't have any girls this time around. Down this hallway and to the right, there's the lobby. I think the coffee cart's open, so you can do whatever you need to do. But be back here at 10:05. Remember, you're graded on being here on time. See ya.